Before Warren Buffett became the world's greatest investor, before his net worth crossed $100 billion, before he became the Oracle of Omaha, he was just a young man with a dream, a burning obsession with numbers, and a hunger to escape ordinary life. But here's the twist most people don't know. Warren Buffett didn't make his first million by simply buying and holding stocks. No, his path was unusual, filled with small ventures, partnerships, and strategies that almost no one talks about today. And inside his journey lies a blueprint, one that beginners, even with little money, can copy. So, how exactly did Warren Buffett go from selling chewing gum as a kid to building his very first million? Stay with me, because the story you're about to hear may completely change the way you see wealth forever. Warren Buffett wasn't born rich. In fact, during the Great Depression, his family struggled like millions of others. But little Warren, he saw opportunity everywhere. At just 6 years old, he bought 6 packs of Coca-Cola from his grandfather's store and resold the bottles one by one for a profit. At 11, he bought his very first stock, City's Service, 3 shares at $38 each. When the price dropped to $27, he panicked. But soon after, it bounced to $40. He sold, pocketing a small gain. He thought he was smart, but then the stock soared to $200. That one painful lesson, selling too soon, would haunt him for years. Still, Warren never stopped hustling. He sold chewing gum door to door. He delivered newspapers before dawn. By the time he was a teenager, he had saved thousands of dollars, the equivalent of tens of thousands today. But here's where the story gets interesting. At 17, Warren made a bold move. He and a friend bought a used pinball machine for $25 and placed it in a barber shop. The quarters started rolling in. In just weeks, they reinvested the profits into more machines, spreading them across town. Soon, they owned dozens of machines and were making steady income, passive income. Eventually, they sold the business for over $1,000. That might sound small, but remember, this was the 1940s. Adjusted for today, that's more than $15,000. And here's the key. Warren didn't spend that money on luxuries. He reinvested every dollar. This became a golden rule of his life. Never kill the golden goose. Let it keep laying eggs. But pinball wasn't enough. He moved into bigger plays, like buying farmland and even dabbling in real estate. At just 21, he bought a small plot of farmland with his newspaper money and rented it out to farmers, earning steady rent checks without lifting a finger. Do you see the pattern? Warren wasn't gambling. He was building systems that made money while he slept. Here's where Warren Buffett's story takes a dramatic turn. In 1956, at the age of 25, Warren had just returned to Omaha after working for Benjamin Graham, the father of value investing. Armed with Graham's principles, Buffett decided to launch his own investment partnerships. He started small. 7 family members and friends trusted him with $105,000. Buffett himself put in just $100. That's right, only $100. But here's the shocking part. He didn't promise them guaranteed profits. Instead, he structured the deal brilliantly. If he didn't beat the stock market, he earned nothing. If he did, he kept a percentage of the profits. This alignment built trust. And soon, more investors piled in. Buffett was managing multiple partnerships, all quietly compounding wealth. And how did he invest? He hunted for cigar, but businesses that looked ugly, forgotten, and cheap. Like a discarded cigar with one last puff left. One example, he bought a windmill company nobody wanted. Another time, he bought Sanborn Map Company, whose assets were worth more than the stock price. These weren't glamorous moves, but they worked. Every time he found an undervalued gem, he made sure his partnerships profited. By the early 1960s, Buffett was managing millions. And before he turned 31, he had personally crossed the $1 million mark. So what can we learn from Buffett's journey to his first million? Start small, think big. Buffett didn't begin with billions. He began with Coca-Cola bottles, chewing gum, and pinball machines. Small streams became rivers. Reinvest relentlessly. He didn't waste profits. He doubled down. Every dollar earned was put back to work. Partnerships beat lone wolves. Buffett leveraged other people's money ethically and transparently to scale far beyond what he could do alone. Value over hype. He ignored hot stocks and trends. Instead, he looked for boring, undervalued opportunities hiding in plain sight. Patience pays. He learned from selling too early. His wealth grew because he waited, compounded, and stayed consistent. For beginners today, the lesson is clear. You don't need to invent the next iPhone or start with millions. If you can spot value, reinvest profits, and think long-term, the road to your first million becomes possible. By the time Buffett made his first million, he was still living modestly in Omaha. No private jets, no luxury mansions, just focus, discipline, and an obsession with compounding wealth. And that's the paradox of Buffett's success. He didn't chase riches. He chased good decisions, and those good decisions created riches. What started with Coca-Cola bottles led to farmland. What started with pinball machines led to partnerships. And what started with $100 turned into his first million. So, here's the question for you. What's your first step? Are you selling your Coca-Cola bottles today? Or are you waiting for the perfect moment that may never come? Warren Buffett's story proves one thing: greatness begins with small, ordinary actions compounded over time. If you found this story inspiring, imagine how many others need to hear it. Share this video. And if you want more powerful wealth-building stories like this, hit that like button and subscribe. Because just like Buffett's million, your journey could begin today with the very next decision you make.